Hello, and welcome back to one of the mini courses that work on different issues that present inside of relationships and different skills that we can acquire to actually be able to make huge and lifelong impacts, positive impacts on our relationships. So today I thought we'd look at conflict. Conflict is something that every relationship has, and it's really important to identify that conflict is actually a really natural part of relationship. The issues present when people don't know how to conflict in healthy and productive ways. Couples frequently present as highly emotional, and they project their issues onto their loved ones. And, we've all been guilty of that in our own relationships. But the key is to actually learn how to resource yourself and skill yourself around emotional intelligence, learning how to take care of your emotions, which we've previously looked at in other mini courses, but also the importance of being able to have healthy boundaries and healthy identification of what belongs to who inside of a relationship. So this would be that codependent frame that everybody tends to throw around these days. A lot of relationships are actually set up inside of the construct that I will take care of you and you take care of me. It's that romantic idealization of a relationship. Oh my God, I'll meet him and he'll take care of me, or she'll look after me. And in a matter of fact, that's actually a really dangerous way of setting up a relationship, because truth be known, if I take care of you and you take care of me, what happens on the day in which we both have a bad day? What happens in the moment in which I've got something going on and you've got something going on and I expect you to look after me and you can't because you're not in a good space? Then that really creates this kind of construct, and I think we'd all be aware of it, in which we start to compete and compare about who is actually in a worse state. So if I'm taking care of you and you're in a bad day, I'm having a bad day, and you want me to take care of you because you're having a bad day, then we'll start to compete over who's more messed up, which means the problems actually get worse because we're in comparison and competition over the care. So a healthy construct, which might be very different from what we're accustomed to, is actually I'll take care of me for you and you take care of you, which means I need to learn how to be responsible for my own growth and my own emotional safety inside of the relationship by using a direct communication, having clear boundaries, having emotional resilience and emotional awareness, so I can take care of my emotions. I can have boundaries around what I'm capable of giving out and what I'm not in the space to give out for that day. Also being able to communicate what's going on for me in a respectful, clear, assertive way so that there's no confusion, that allows there to be a creation of a boundary. Then I can actually hold space for myself. Now, what that would look like is if I'm having a bad day, I'd be walking through the door when I get home from work and I would say, hi, everybody, just letting you know I've had a really rough day today. So I'm just going to take 5 minutes to take care of myself. And if you could just honor that time, it'd be really grateful. One of the things that we really need to identify is when we actually own and profess our feelings and our emotional state, we kind of let everybody else off the hook. Because what we can do is we can walk through the door carrying our emotions, not really even aware sometimes that something's going on for us, and everyone can pick up the vibe. And when we're picking up that vibe, it can make everybody feel like they're eggshelling, or it can actually generate, what's wrong with you? Or why are you in a mood today? So if we can actually have that emotional awareness to identify what we're feeling and then clearly state that to those that we love, we create this space for everybody to be off the hook, so no one's responsible for how anyone feels. I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, my father was in a grumpy mood a lot of the time. And I spent most of my childhood running around thinking, what have I done wrong? And I'd always try and make things nice. I mean, that's how I was set up originally, as a people pleaser, because I'd constantly try to navigate or create a happy space in my home environment as a means to be able to try and reduce the mood of my father. So, what's really healthy, or would have been a constructive way of navigating that, would have been him actually being aware and accountable for his feelings and actually stating, do you know what, I'm in a bad mood today. And therefore, being responsible, like 100% responsible for his own emotional state. And then all of us would have been able to respect that space and allow him to have that space for, you know what, you're in a bad mood. That's cool. Any grumpiness, any banging of stuff or any huffs, not my problem. It's not that we don't actually want to care for our partners inside of it, but we don't want to be emotionally responsible for how other people feel. And what happens inside of relationships is we tend to make our partners and our loved ones responsible, because the more time we spend together, the more the boundary gets blurred between each other. It's almost like we lose our own autonomy and our own identity, and we start to merge into one another. So then we start to project and blame one another for how we feel, like by setting it up. You make me angry. You've been in a bad mood. You haven't helped out here. You haven't done this. So we start to have this enmeshed, codependent, over responsible for each other's states of being. And what we want to learn is how to actually have clear boundaries around our emotional states, as well as turn around and be able to communicate that in a constructive way, so that it creates more fluidness, flow, and space between each other. So the healthy thing is inside of that is, once you're actually starting to communicate what it is that's going on for you, you reduce conflict, because nobody's guessing, no one's enmeshing, no one's taking on other people's stuff, and therefore no one's guilting, shaming, blaming. And it really creates that space for you to have an emotional respect inside of the relationship. And when we do, make ourselves responsible, then we're not competing over the emotional responsibility of the family and of the relationship. So the thing that's really important inside of learning, I'll take care of me for you, and you take care of you for me, which is the opposite to that, I'll take care of you, you take care of me, is that we make ourselves really the conduit of our own well-being, and we make ourselves responsible for our own state of wellness. And then through using the emotional resources that have been in some of my other videos, you can actually learn how to take yourself away, take some time and some space, reflect on what it is you're feeling, find the cause of the emotion, what's the unmet need, and then process through to create some change inside of it. Sometimes it's as simple as I'm tired or I'm hungry, and we can just sit and explore our emotions and find out what's going on for us, versus needing or wanting our partners to rescue us, making our partners responsible, and therefore not really resolving it, but just, throwing the hot potato around, the space in the home. So when we actually learn to have that emotional accountability and responsibility for ourselves, it really starts to create a space of respect and reciprocation inside of the relationship. What I love about this is, once we have those emotional boundaries and conflict can reduce, we can actually learn to start holding space for one another inside of what's going on, instead of trying to rescue or be responsible. So holding space is another one of those really magic conflict reducing resources that we can establish. Frequently, when our partners are upset and we do take responsibility, or we feel so concerned or compassionate towards them that we actually want to try and fix it. And I don't know about you, but whenever I've been upset and anybody's tried to rescue or fix me, somehow it's almost offensive, because it's kind of reaffirming you don't know what you're doing. And it's not really meeting the primary need. I remember working with a client just a couple of weeks ago who was having this ongoing conflict with his wife inside of their relationship. She was going through an incredibly tough time and had to take some time off work due to stress and anxiety and other personal issues. And inside of that, he could not help but feel responsible for the way that she was feeling. So what I did was work to actually detangle the enmeshment of him needing to be responsible and trusting in her capacity to be able to take care of her own emotions, because she's an incredibly successful and resourceful person. She's circumnavigated her life up until the age of 45 so far. So she's got something going on, and she is actually skilled in able to take care of herself. And we explored at what was going on for him and his feeling or his need to actually fix it or make it better, as a means to, stop her being in discomfort. it's that framework of I'll take care of you. So I actually got him to take a step back and explore what actually does occur when he tries to come in and take care of her when she's distressed. And what he identified is it actually created more conflict, and the opposite was happening. She was actually beginning to push him away because what she was needing was space for her to be with her emotional distress, and it be okay that she was in emotional distress, and him not having to make it wrong or fix it or change it. Frequently, what happens when we rescue people from their own problems, we actually take away the discomfort that is necessary for their own growth. We take away the lesson that is evidently present inside of any kind of struggle. I mean, every issue that we have is an opportunity for growth. So when we actually try to rescue people from their own discomfort, we do a disservice to them because we take the discomfort away, and we also take the accountability, the responsibility, and the opportunity for learning, growth, and healing inside of the crisis. So I worked to separate and pull him back from it, and him to turn to take care of himself inside of what was going on for him inside of the distress that his wife was experiencing. So learning how to soothe, learning how to breathe, learning how to trust, learning how to create safety for himself inside of her not being okay. It's okay to not be okay. You know, that's a part of life sometimes, and how he can actually trust and hold space for her while she's not okay. So in this moment, I began to question, have you ever really asked her what it is she's needing from you while she's in this distress, while she's going through that? And the truth is, he'd been so busy trying to fix it and create solutions and give her offers, and what about this? And maybe you could do that. Have you thought about this? That he'd never actually sat with her and held space in a really cathartic and respectful way, in which he could just honor and offer the space that she was in, and then ask her what it is that she actually needed from him. So his homework was to turn around and go and sit with her and just learn how to hold space. Holding space is such a sacred gift that you can give a loved one when they're in emotional distress. I mean, when people are in grief, when people are in hardship, just being able to sit with them without having to do anything, but just emotionally being present and holding space, being able to sit inside of their discomfort with them so they don't feel that they're alone, actually gives this empathic and supportive environment for them without actually doing anything. It's really meeting their emotional needs. I mean, there's a lot of men out there that would guess that they don't know what to do when their wife or their partner is really distressed. So frequently they try to run in and rescue. And I've worked with them to be able to sit with them and be able to just reflect those feelings and reflect those needs. Like, that sounds distressing. Oh gosh, that must be really hard for you. Or, oh, I feel kind of helpless. I imagine it feels helpless for you too. So just being able to reflect that emotional space and being able to honor where they're at, and being able to just like parrot and repeat, that's hard, that's difficult. And is there anything that I could do to support you? Or, what have you been thinking about what you could do? Have you thought of anything? Have you been, another really good thing to reflect back is, have you been through anything like this similar? And what did you do that time? So you're actually getting them to empower themselves and resource themselves inside of their own adversity, which really creates strength and repair and restores confidence, which is frequently lost when we struggle. And so you're actually able to hold space emotionally, being able to invite them into their own resources and their own skills. You are respecting and validating their feelings, which creates such an emotional healing. And then inside of that, you've really honored them inside of their own journey. So when this client practiced this and he showed up for his wife, he actually called me on Christmas Eve, and he said, I can't tell you how this small step, this small micro change in my behavior has had an incredibly profound impact on my relationship and my connection with my wife. She is feeling so supported. She is feeling so loved. Her mood is shifting. Her anxiety is decreasing. She's actually becoming proactive. And he's going, and I didn't really do anything except really just be there for her in a very emotionally available way. So there's so many ways in which we can actually step back from rescuing our partners or projecting responsibility of fixing, and being able to really, I'll take care of me for you and you take care of you, and let me hold space while you take care of you, as well as being accountable emotionally for yourself and naming up what you're feeling. Really, those three kind of areas really pulled apart can make profound and lifelong changes inside of your interactions, personally and professionally, but definitely intimately inside of your relationship. So I invite you to give it a go, practice holding space, practice walking through the room, into the room and naming out what you're feeling, practice the other resources like taking care of those emotions and learning how to validate the feelings of your partner versus rescuing them, and seeing how those small skills actually really create a greater connection and resource the relationship in a really positive way.